Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will either wake you up or leave you behind. This isn't about motivation. This is about mental transformation. You don't need another quote. You need a shock to the system. So here it is. Your brain doesn't care if you win. It only cares if you survive. And that right there is the root of your weakness. That's why you procrastinate. That's why you self-sabotage. That's why you stay small. Because your brain was built for a world of predators and caves, not power and progress. So if you want to become inhumanly strong, you're going to have to do something terrifying. You're going to have to stop listening to the voice in your head and start training it like a wild animal. Your brain was never designed to make you extraordinary. It was designed to keep you alive. That's it. That's the brutal truth no one talks about. You think your brain is supposed to help you win. No. It's supposed to help you survive. And survival doesn't require greatness. It doesn't demand success, fulfillment, or legacy. All it needs is safety. So from the moment you wake up, your mind is scanning for threats, discomfort, embarrassment, rejection, anything that could make you feel unsafe. And here's the twist. Your goals, your dreams, your next level, they all exist on the other side of those exact threats. That's why you self-sabotage. That's why you put things off. That's why you say, I'll start tomorrow. It's not because you're lazy or broken. It's because your brain is wired to keep you in the familiar, and the familiar is killing your future. Every time you hesitate, every time you shrink, every time you second guess yourself, it's not weakness. It's your survival instinct pretending to protect you. But it's lying. It's outdated software running in a world that no longer requires you to hide in a cave. And until you understand this, you'll stay trapped in cycles of comfort and regret. Your brain is reactive. It doesn't care what you want, it only responds to what you repeat. So if you constantly feed it thoughts like I'm not good enough, what if I fail maybe later, it will carve those beliefs into your identity. And it will defend that identity at all costs. That's why change feels like war. That's why growth feels like death. Because to your brain, it is. When you try to level up, your subconscious interprets it as danger, not progress. So it floods you with resistance, fear, excuses, and fatigue, not because you're incapable, but because your brain is literally trying to protect you from becoming someone it doesn't recognize. And this is where most people lose. They think fear means stop. They think doubt means don't. But the truth is that fear is proof you're heading in the right direction. Because nothing worth having lives inside your comfort zone. The real you, the powerful, relentless, unstoppable you is buried under decades of conditioning, and your brain will fight like hell to keep it hidden. Not because it hates you, but because it doesn't understand evolution. You can't negotiate with a brain built for survival. You have to outsmart it. You have to rewire it through action, not overthinking. And that's the part that separates the average from the unstoppable. Most people wait to feel ready. They wait for confidence. They wait for clarity. But you don't wait to lift the weight, you lift the weight to get strong. You don't wait to feel brave, you take action while you're still afraid. And when you do that, something begins to shift. Your brain starts to register the new pattern. It sees that discomfort didn't kill you. It realizes that facing fear didn't end in disaster. And slowly it rewires itself to stop protecting your limitations and start supporting your power. That's when everything changes. That's when you go from avoiding resistance to chasing it. That's when you stop flinching at pressure and start thriving in it. Because now your mind doesn't see the hard thing as danger or sees it as destiny. But don't be fooled, this isn't some overnight mindset shift. This is a war against the default programming of your biology. This is a daily, brutal battle against the oldest part of your brain that only wants one thing, comfort. And comfort is the enemy of greatness. Every time you say no to what you should do, and yes to what feels easy, your brain wins and your dreams lose. That's the exchange. Every excuse costs you something. Every delay steals momentum. Every time you choose distraction over discipline, you reinforce the belief that you are not in control. And that's the greatest lie of all. Because you are in control. You always were. You just didn't realize that your thoughts aren't commands, they're suggestions. And you can reject them. You can override them. You can take that fear and use it as fuel. But only if you stop waiting for your brain to give you permission to rise. It never will. It's not supposed to. That's your job now. You must become the commander, not the listener. You must treat your mind like an untrained animal and condition it through discipline, through pain, through repetition. Because that's the only language it understands. Show it through action. Show it who's boss. If your mind tells you to quit, do 5 more reps. If it says sleep in, get up and move. If it says avoid that hard conversation, walk into it with your chin high. And when it panics, when it resists, when it screams for comfort, you hold the line. That's how you break the cycle. That's how you flip the switch. Your future is not built on how you feel. It's built on what you do. And the moment you realize that is the moment you take back your power from the old programming that's been running your life. You stop playing small. You stop waiting. You stop surrendering your future to an ancient system that was never built for the world you live in now. Because this world doesn't reward safety. It rewards strength. It rewards clarity. It rewards those who can walk into fear and command their mind to follow, not flee. And if you want that kind of power, you need to earn it. You need to become the kind of person who does the thing before they believe they can. The kind of person who shows up whether they feel like it or not. The kind of person whose actions train their brain instead of letting their brain control their actions. That's the only way to escape the trap. The only way to evolve beyond the limits of your biology. You have to lead your brain, drag it, if you must, into the life you were meant to live. Because the reality is brutal, but freeing your brain won't save you. It will sabotage you, unless you rewire it. Unless you challenge it. Unless you become the master, not the puppet. That's the difference between the person who dreams and the one who becomes unstoppable. The greatest lie you've ever been told is that success is about motivation, that you need to feel inspired, excited, or passionate to take action. That is the trap that's kept millions stuck in average lives, because the truth is this: your life doesn't change when you feel good. It changes when you choose discomfort. It changes when you do the thing you don't want to do over and over again until your brain stops fighting you. And that's the real brain hack: brutal self-discipline. Not discipline that feels good. Not the kind you post about. I'm talking about the kind that hurts. The kind that makes your stomach turn. The kind that forces you to act when everything inside you is screaming to stop. Because that's the only thing that rewires your brain. Repetition in the face of resistance. You don't need a better mindset, you need to do the thing, especially when you don't want to. That's where transformation lies. Not in the books, not in the talks, but in the decision you make at 5 a.m. when the bed is warm and your goals are cold. In the choice you make when no one's watching. When the applause is gone and all that's left is your standard. Discipline is the language your brain understands when nothing else works. It doesn't respond to pep talks. It doesn't care about your vision board. It listens to behavior. And every time you act against your impulses, you send a new signal to your nervous system. You show your mind that you are in control, not the cravings, not the doubts, not the fear. But that only happens through practice, through pain, through showing up relentlessly even when your emotions tell you you're not ready. Because your emotions lie, they fluctuate, they betray you the second life gets uncomfortable. And if your actions are tied to how you feel, you'll never be consistent. You'll never be powerful. You'll never break through the resistance that separates average from extraordinary. You will always fold when it gets hard. That's why you see so many people start, but almost no one finish. Because finishing doesn't require motivation, it requires obsession. It requires standards. It requires waking up every day and making decisions like your future depends on it, because it does. Most people want change without discomfort. They want results without sacrifice. They want transformation without pain. But that doesn't exist. The reason self-discipline feels like suffering is because it's killing the version of you that can't survive your next level. And that death is necessary. If it's not hard, it's not helping. If it doesn't make you want to quit, it's not breaking your old identity. You want the hack. Here it is: do the hard thing anyway. Do it when it's boring. Do it when it hurts. Do it when it feels pointless. Because that is how you rewire your brain. That is how you build a version of you that does not fold under pressure. Most people think the pain is a sign to stop. The pain is the proof you're on the edge of growth. And discipline is the only thing that gets you through that edge without retreating. This is why high achievers look robotic. Why the elite seem inhuman. Because they've trained their brain to act without permission. They've made the hard things automatic. Not through magic. Not through hacks. But through brutal, relentless, repeated behavior that became identity. When you commit to discipline, your brain begins to change. It no longer searches for escape routes when things get uncomfortable. It starts to associate discomfort with progress. It learns that pain doesn't mean danger, it means growth. And that rewiring happens through action, not thought. You don't think your way into power. You act your way into it. You grind through the resistance. You sweat through the routine. You bleed through the repetition. And eventually the old you, the weak, reactive, impulsive you starts to die. That's what most people can't handle. They're still negotiating with that old identity. Still arguing with the voice that says you've done enough, take it easy, you deserve a break. Discipline silences that voice. It says, I don't care how I feel. I care what I do. That's the switch. That's what makes you untouchable. Because while everyone else is driven by emotion, you become driven by execution. You don't wait to be in the mood. You become the mood by doing the thing. The inhumanly strong don't have more motivation than you. They just have less tolerance for weakness. They've trained themselves to see comfort as the real enemy. Because comfort kills dreams quietly. It whispers, just this once, you've earned it, tomorrow will be better. And discipline answers with action. No emotion, no compromise, just action, over and over. That is the new programming. That is the upgraded mind. That is the brain hack no one wants to hear because it requires suffering. It requires silence. It requires waking up and choosing your future over your feelings every single day. No shortcuts. No dopamine hits. Just cold, calculated commitment to a standard that does not bend, even when you do. And eventually, you stop breaking, you stop doubting, you stop negotiating with that lazy, scared, small version of you. You bury it in the grave you dug with every rep, every early morning, every difficult choice. And you emerge not motivated but transformed, not inspired but disciplined, not human but unshakable. If you really want the power, stop asking how to feel better and start asking how to do better. Stop chasing mental tricks and start doing the hard things so many times your brain has no choice but to adapt. You don't need to fix your mind, you need to force it. And the force comes from discipline. It comes from making your goals non-negotiable.